What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am back finally with my Marvel Select Gambit review. I've had this bad boy for a little while. Um, I'm pretty impressed. Gambit's been a big favorite of mine. Um, Ever since, I want to say, was it late 80s or mid 80s, early 90s? For me, it mostly took place during the early 90s, during Jim Lee's run of X-Men for Marvel. He became one of my favorites. I kind of had like a love-hate relationship with the character because he seemed to just show up and instantly steal the spotlight in any issue he was in. Because back then, my favorite character was Bishop. I really dig the design of the character, and after seeing him in action a few more times and, kind of reading and understanding where he comes from, I really dug his character. He's one of the most original characters we've had, and there's been tons of trench coat wearing, suave wannabe, badasses since him. But this guy is the original. Here's Marvel Select's crack at him, and I dig the whole package. It's an awesome figure. Nothing's really lacking. I kind of wish that they would make coats and more capes out of cloth, kind of like what the Marvel Legends version was. Only that trench coat was atrocious looking. I mean, he looked like a hobo. Make a better quality coat for him, and this figure would be easily the best, because when you have him in those action poses, the cape, his coat wouldn't be getting in the way. But, besides that nitpick, from his face sculpt and his kind of slightly arrogant, like, smooth, like, whatever kind of face or expression, to, like, the pink they used. Some comics used a darker pink that was closer to purple. But they used that bright pink that he was wearing back in Jim Lee's run. The little red eyes. I mean, you already know if it's Marvel Select, the detail will be amazing. And they didn't disappoint. I mean, look at him. I mean, it's exactly how I remember him. Now, there is a variant head, or a variant of the figure that comes with a different head, which is the Steve Scroce version with the longer hair. It's the more modern Gambit. I kind of prefer this one because it's what I grew up on, for nostalgia, and I'm trying to build a classic X-Men team. I'm not trying to build a, like a modern X-Men team, because I dug the classic looks. They were super heroic, and it worked for me, and I really don't need any changes added to that. His articulation is awesome because it allows for a lot of the basic, agility-like poses or agile poses. You can make him do all kinds of things, and I was looking through my books to see what kind of poses would Gambit be in, and somehow the coat even works with flips and things like that. It's like Marvel Select is starting to think about articulation more than anything else. Also, his accessories are nice. He comes with a staff. He comes with 2 extra hands, 2 sets of thrown, action cards, and a pile of cards. Not a pile, but a suite of cards, that he's charging, so that you can put him in those classic poses, just getting ready to toss that ace at you. I think that this is the best representation of Gambit we've ever had. Better than everything else that's come so far. The colors are so close to what he had in the comics, except being that it's Marvel Select, you've got those subtle gradations that kind of, add a more modern take to him. They left out the blue lines, or the blue negative space on his neck piece, or it's not really his neck, but it's like his collarbone area. I don't really care about that shit. You got the lines on the sides. You got the downward pointing arrow on his knee pads. The downward pointing in the center halos on his boots. I mean, this guy looks the part. It's like that whole 90s shit never ended, and the character looks awesome. If if you weren't a fan of him to begin with, I think just looking at this toy would make you a fan of the character because it's a pretty badass design. I mean, not too many characters can run around in pink and still pull off badass, suave ladies' man. You know what I mean? And Gambit is like King Dingaling of all hoes in comics, you know, because he was the ladies' man, period, from day one. So it's kind of cool. And, you know, he's got more dimension to him because he had one of those backstories that, you know, it's been an issue for a long time for him. I don't think the character's ever recovered from that. And lately, I don't know what Marvel's been doing with Gambit, you know? Extreme X-Men and all those other X-Men books of early 2000s, you know, when they were trying to figure out during the movie era, what should we do with the X-Men? Gambit somehow got shat on. So it's nice to see him in rare form here as, you know, a figure. I dig his hands for using the staff. That was one of the cool things that I saw with this figure that was missing from the Marvel Legends figure. Marvel Legends had really good articulation, but his hands sucked ass. This figure has the old school kind of kung fu grip-ish hands that are molded holding hands. He's got molded, you know, splayed open throwing shit hands. He's got the molded holding cards hands. That's important because this is what Gambit does. So, you know, I'm really impressed. I'm impressed. His neck has a decent range of you know, articulation. I mean, not so much that you can get him in this pose looking dead at you, which would have been nice. But, I mean, overall, you can get him doing everything else. Like, there he is doing a little helicopter kick type deal. I always imagine Van Damme either being the voice of the character or possibly playing him back when I was in, like, 4th grade and they mentioned that they were planning on doing this and James Cameron was supposed to direct X-Men. So there's him doing his little tribute to Van Damme, you know. That was the time when you think about this kind of shit, you know. But I have like little issues with his articulation. I think they did a great job with him. I'm one of those people who I think that articulation needs to work along with the sculpt of the character. His ab crunch works really well, so getting him in those ready poses where it looks like he's about to reach into his coat and pick out some cards, that looks cool. And you can get those poses with him really well. He is a little on the tall side, which is kind of annoying because, you know, you want him to stand with your X-Men and look cool, but as I remember, Gambit was kind of tall. The sculpting, like I said earlier, it's phenomenal. They gave the jacket a little, you know, a light wash, which, you know, I honestly don't feel was necessary. But this is Marvel Select territory. I mean, you know when you're getting a Marvel Select, they're going to go above and beyond the Call of Duty when it comes to paint application. And it helps give this jacket a little more dimension. Not that it needs it. It is three-dimensional, and if you light him the correct way, you would get the dimension. But it makes it look a little textured and a little rough and worn. And if you know Gambit, he's worn that damn thing on so many missions. I would have liked an extra pair of arms and you know, the ability to take that jacket off, because there were quite a few books. I even had some X-Men cards where he you know, took off the coat and you got to see the rest of the costume. It's a pretty nice costume. It works, you know. But I think I picked him up I bought him on Amazon. He was about $20. And for $20, this is a lot of figure. It's a good figure. He looks the part. You know, that's the important thing when you're buying these figures from different, you know, companies. DC Direct does, or DC Collectibles, I'm sorry. They do a good job doing this too. But Marvel Select, man, the scale and the amount of goodness that you get in that package is amazing. And you really can't beat it, you know. For $20, you know, I got a very well-needed character for my X-Men collection. I want a Cyclops, you know, Jim Lee style Cyclops for my X-Men team. So I'll be really happy when I get that. But right now we've got, you know, Gambit, and he looks the part. So if you see him out there, pick him up. He's worth every single penny. You will have fun, and he will fit in perfectly. I mean, he'll be a little bit on the tall side when compared to your Marvel Legends, but I mean, that's a small price to pay. He's not taller than the Colossus, the Marvel Select Colossus. So you might want to consider, you know what I'm saying? If you're like me and you're trying to create that perfect old school team, you need to get at this guy because he's worth every damn penny. He is just quality. I can't really say too much. I mean, if there is any criticism, I would say that they should have made longer pegs for his hands to go on, because the hands just pop off and pop back on. But the cool thing about that is that you don't run the risk of bending or breaking those things. I mean, if you've been collecting for a while, you wouldn't do that anyway. But, some of us are clumsy. I'm not, but I've seen reviews where people say that DC Universe Classics figures tend to, the women, their arms tend to break when you open the package. I've got a pretty big DC Universe collection, and none of my female figures have broken. And I've got about 20, maybe 10 or 20, female figures, and I don't know, never had one break. So I don't know. It depends. Anyway, I am Strident. That is my story, and I'm sticking to it. And stay tuned for the next review. All right. Peace outside, people.